listening to a special podcast episode brought to you by the Foundation for Excellence in Mental Health Care. My name is Leah Harris, and I'm so pleased to introduce you to today's guests, Dr. Daniel Binus and Susanna Brindley. Dr. Binus serves as Clinical Director of Beautiful Minds Medical. He provides outpatient psychiatry and oversees the intensive outpatient program. He's also on the medical staff at Sutter Auburn Faith Hospital and a clinical instructor for Loma Linda University. Susanna Brindley is Dr. Binus' mother. She's been in the world of healthcare for 22 years as a licensed massage therapist, specializing in myofascial release techniques. Welcome to the podcast, both of you. It's wonderful to have you as our guests today.
Thank you so much, Leah. We appreciate being here.
Dr. Binus, perhaps you could start us off sharing about your personal connection. What is it that led you to this work?
Growing up, we had an amazing family, amazing connection. Actually grew up as being the oldest of four in a pastor's family. And what I found amazing for my mental health as a kid, and what my parents really instilled in us, is running around in nature, playing with goats and chickens, and roaming through the forest, and just being free. And that really was amazing for my mental health. in retrospect, at the time, that's all you know as a kid. But as a teenager, our family went through a crisis where my parents split up, and the prospect of divorce in our family was it was very painful for everyone, for our parents, of course, but I think very much for us children, and we really all dealt with our pain in different ways. And for my brother and I, that was basically escaping into a life of substances, addiction, and some unhealthy relationships. And so, that was something that I wrestled with in my teen years and even into my 20s on and off. And it was interesting because, of course, as a kid, I had this amazing taste of good mental health and, what that constitutes and everything. But then wrestling later on is now lessened in a young adult. And so I actually got to a point when I was in medical school where I was really, just got to a low point. I knew I wasn't happy, and yet I felt like, I don't know, I just feel like I can't get out of this. I can't escape out of this, and I felt trapped. And I'm so thankful that through this process of wrestling, even in the darkness and getting to low points in my life, I actually learned a lot about myself. I learned about, what was priority, what was important in my life, the principles that would bring life and joy again. And through this process of wrestling and through my own healing, I realized, and as I started to experience the joy of getting free of the substances and the unhealthy relationships and the unhealthy behaviors that were keeping me in a lot of darkness, I really received this joy and this freedom and this peace that I didn't even realize existed, and or maybe I had forgotten since my childhood, right? And so when I tasted that, I shifted my goal, because in medical school I had actually planned to be a surgeon, but I shifted my goal into mental health, into really helping other people experience that same joy and that same freedom, that same peace that I was starting to experience there once I was coming out of this negative situation that I had gotten myself into.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so moving, and I think it can only enhance your gifts and your skills as a psychiatrist, as a mental health professional, to be able to bring that depth of lived experience to that work. Susanna, how about you? What is your connection to, obviously we know your connection to Dr. Binus, but your broader connection to the world of mental health?
For me, as a professional person in the world of healing arts, since I'm a massage therapist, my specialty is myofascial release. And in the world of myofascial release, you're working on the connective tissue in the body. And when you tap into the connective tissue through this work, you're actually tapping into the memory, the subconscious memories of the body, of everything that we've been through from this point in time of consciousness going all the way back to the time in utero before birth. And so when we do this work, a lot of times people will return to memories that have been blocked out in current consciousness and relive them. So the emotions of those memories will come up. And sometimes it's very huge, say somebody has gone through abuse of some sort, emotional or physical, that will come out and express itself when I work on people at times. And so people then access those hidden memories, which is very powerful, which could then lead to more mental clearing. And I am so thrilled to be able to turn some of these people towards a physician, not only a physician that can help them, but give them tools to help heal their body and their mind because they're so connected. So therefore, I have a very, shall we say, a great passion from my heart and soul for this work. Not only because, of course, this is my son, and not only because I'm wholeheartedly promoting his work, it's much more about the bigger picture of helping the world, helping to envision changing the paradigm around the treatment of mental illness through whole person approach that respects the individual and looks at these root causes of what has caused the trauma in the brain, in the mind. Certainly often it starts in the woundedness of the heart, the spirit, the person, and then it turns into a mental illness. So however it occurred originally through the center that Daniel is building, what they do is they teach how to give this person tools for recovery, and they stay with them as a community while this person is learning to integrate these core principles.
Well, thank you so much, Susanna. So yeah, Dr. Binus, if you could sort of elaborate more on Beautiful Minds Wellness, tell us a little bit about how did it get started and what are the sort of guiding principles of your work?
Absolutely. So when I was going through psychiatric residency, I received some really good training at Loma Linda, but one of the areas that I really saw that we could grow as a mental health community was treating people in a more holistic manner. And Loma Linda already has a more holistic philosophy, and they really approach mental health from what they call the bio-psycho-social spiritual model. In other words, looking at people's, their biology, their physical, but also their psychological health, their social health, their connections, and then their spiritual health as well. And that really resonated with me. But even there at Loma Linda, what I primarily saw was that the thrust and the training was more geared toward medication and trying to address the symptoms. And I use medication every day, so I'm not against medication. However, I also see that if we focus primarily on medication, that it becomes a very dead-end road because people don't really get well, because no drug ever actually healed anybody. It's actually the body that does the healing, and we want to work to assist the body. And sure, medications can maybe help a little bit as far as controlling symptoms, but they're not actually doing the healing. And so what I really was inspired to look at is, well, how can we help people to look more at the root cause of their problems and address those? And that really led me to study a lot more into the literature and also connect with some mentors that were doing more of this sort of work already. And I should say, just really beginning, because I think this is in a lot of ways, it's not the normal mode of operation as far as mental health treatment is concerned. And so, but what I started to learn is as we actually address those underlying root causes and we help people to fix those, that the symptoms get better. And it's not like they're just masks for a while with medication, but they actually get permanently better and they start to experience life on a whole greater, more amazing plane than they ever imagined possible. And that's really exciting to see that.
Thank you. And speaking of that, if you could share a little bit about what some of the graduates of your program or folks who have gone through your program say about this sort of unique holistic approach that you bring to mental health.
When people come through our intensive outpatient program, which is our day treatment program, we track their scores from the Beck Depression Inventory, the Beck Anxiety Inventory, the Beck Hopelessness Inventory, and also the PHQ-9. So we track all those measures when they come in and then also when they leave. And it's really, really exciting to see the results because in just 2 to 3 weeks, which is the average length of stay in the intensive outpatient program, over 90% of people that come in with major depression actually have a positive treatment response and get significantly better. And for most of those, their depression actually goes to the level where, at least according to the measures, they are not in the depressed category anymore, which is just amazing. And then about 92% of those that have high anxiety when they come into the program leave just several weeks later with low to normal levels of anxiety. And then again, even with the hopelessness inventory, a lot of people come in with relatively high scores on the hopelessness scale, and everybody leaves with hope. And that is one of the most important things, I think, that we can see that, even though we know that mental healing and improving our mental health, it is a journey. One of the most important things that we can instill people with right at the beginning of that journey is hope, because you can get better. And once they start seeing that they're doing these things that are helping them get better, that it's working, then, yeah, they're going to keep moving forward with their hope and their program, and it's really neat because a lot of people that when they leave the program, we track them afterwards, and they come with their regular outpatient follow-ups, and most people, because they've tasted that, wow, this really works and I'm getting better, will continue, and they'll continue to get better and better and better, and so that's really exciting to us.
What sets Daniel and his Beautiful Minds Wellness Center apart is it's a program that is addressing the whole person integrative approach, and they incorporate the lifestyle principles such as nutrition, exercise, water, sleep, spiritual growth, and building healthy connections. And, they really want to help people to move out of survival mode into thriving. And they assist them by remaining community so that these people don't remain isolated with their problems. They feel this community of care around them, and they don't let go of them until they're ready to fly on their own again. So I feel like this is what's making the biggest difference. Other countries in the world are starting to take note and really sharing with Daniel when he was in the countries speaking, we need this in our countries. Please come back. Please show us how to do this here. And so I know what Daniel's bigger vision is to establish a blueprint program as he grows the Beautiful Minds Mental Health Campus. He wants to establish a blueprint that could be duplicated throughout our nation as well as the world. That's his bigger vision.
Would love to hear first from you, Daniel, and Susanna. Tell us about your plans for the Beautiful Minds Mental Health and Wellness Campus. I love that you want to create a model that can be easily replicated around the world. But tell us a little bit more about what it will offer and how it will expand on your existing program.
One of the things that I should probably comment on at this point is that it is a sad statistic, but in America over the last several years, we've actually seen a decline in the life expectancy, and that's actually been in a lot of ways a surprise for a lot of people, and they've wondered, well, why is that? And there really is 3 primary contributors, and those are suicide, drug overdose, and alcoholism. And so it's interesting when you look at those 3 primary contributors to what they're calling the deaths of despair in America. They're all mental health related, and that's why our life expectancy is going down. And despite all of the information we have, despite all of the scientific knowledge that's growing, despite all of the antidepressants that we have that we didn't have 50 years ago, despite all of the therapists that we have and everything that we're doing for mental health, it's not enough. And things are getting worse, even though we have more access to care, more treatments available, things are getting worse. And when I look at that, and especially when I look at the fact that in the adolescent population, the young people, the outcomes are proportionally getting worse even than for the adult, older population, that makes me even more afraid of what we're going to be seeing here in the future. And so that really moves on my heart to say we need to do something. We need to do something, not just the same old thing day in and day out, but we need to do something different. And that's really what drives me and my passion to see us move forward with a more holistic approach, because I see the difference it makes in people's lives. I see young people that have no direction in their life and are just squandering the amazing talents and the abilities and the resources that they have, and I see them come in and I see them grasp those principles, and then they get on track and they become these amazing lights in the world. And that is really what drives us to want to expand our services, because first of all, there's not enough. We get hundreds of phone calls every month for requests for new patients and wanting to come in, and we can't accommodate everybody. And so we certainly want to expand the breadth of our services, but we also want to expand the depth of our services, meaning we want to more and more allow people not to just understand intellectually, okay, yes, exercise is good for me and nutrition is good for me, and teach them, but we also want to build a center where people can come and experience those things. And so that's really our next step that we're working on right now, is we want to have a place, a wellness campus, a mental health oasis in this desert of mental health despair, to actually create a place where people can come and they can have someone that's exercising with them on walking paths and in an exercise gym. We want to not just teach people about nutrition, we want to actually show them how to make nutritious meals and how to actually put together things that are not only healthy but taste good, and then we want them to be able to taste it, and so that's why we want to have like a health food cafe. We want them to be able to experience the amazing power of massage therapy, which is my mom's expertise and passion, and I also have a passion for it because not only do I know that in the research it works, but also because personally I've felt the results, and so we want to integrate these sorts of things on a holistic campus so that people can walk through that, because once they experience those things, then they just want to continue with that, and they want to share with other people too. And really part of what we want on our campus is we want to make it available so that even if someone's coming from a greater distance, then they can come and they can come and stay in. They're either on the campus or close by to go through our programs for several weeks and have that jump start into wellness. And we also want to provide training for other clinicians and other people that are wanting to do more holistic mental health treatment so that this can multiply in other areas. And finally, not that we need to replicate the exact same wellness oasis everywhere, but we want a piece of that in different places around the country where we can have a Beautiful Minds or something like that in other places so that people can say, okay, maybe I can't come all the way to California, but I can come maybe a couple of hours away and get those sort of holistic services that I really need to improve my mental health.
What else is needed to realize the incredible vision that you're talking about, at least with this very first campus?
The good news is we've got a wonderful start with our nonprofit organization, and we've started to do a lot of community workshops every year, and we have a lot of people coming out from the community that are attending those workshops, and we are in process right now of acquiring some land for building out the campus. We've already done feasibility studies, and we've have a business plan that we've put together. And so we're really in the phase of getting close to coming up with architectural plans. And one of the really good pieces of good news is that the local hospital here, Sutter Auburn Faith, they've seen the results of what we do, and they believe so much in what we're doing that they're actually in the process of donating over $500,000 to help us start and get this launched. And so we're really excited about that. The whole project we're projecting is going to be about $5 million. And so that's the big picture goal. We are doing a pilot program that will incorporate those wellness services like the massage therapy, more of the life and health coaching, more of the group type support and holistic things that we were wanting to do on the wellness campus side of things. We're doing that on a smaller scale to test it and to make sure that it is going to be that the way we do it is going to be financially viable and sustainable over the long term, because we need this to be sustainable. We don't expect that we're just going to be operating off of donations for the rest of our existence. No, we want it to be self-supporting, self-sustaining.
Suzanne, I wonder if you could share a little bit as the fund advisor for the Beautiful Minds funds, if you could share a little bit about that fund for folks who would love to support this incredible vision that you both talked about.
When I looked at this program that's being launched now through Beautiful Minds Wellness, I realized this is actually an example of something that could have helped me when I was a young child and a teen, or a young adult even, struggling with this mental illness in our family and not knowing where to turn. And this is the answer of not only where the person that's struggling with the mental illness, but their family. Their family can turn and receive help and support and learn and, have classes and a community that will rally around them, giving them that support and that caring and the tools. So that was what motivated the donation, and I just am so thrilled that we could be a part of this for those reasons.
We are equally thrilled and so grateful again for your vision and for your support, and we're very, very hopeful for updates in the future that Health and Wellness Campus will be up and running and a real example and model for folks around the world. Thank you again so deeply for your work, for your vision, and for your commitment to change.
Thank you, Leah. We really appreciate you having us on, and I really believe that together we can change the paradigm of mental health in America.